Hi, this is Bonnie from Lavinia World Design Team. And if you remember, we worked on this stamped blending background. And now I'm going to be showing you how I'm going to stamp on it and use it as a project. So first of all, I am going to tell you the stamps I'm going to be using. And these are the Lavinia stamps. And this one is Ferry Bridge, LAV177. And this one is Embrace Your Dreams, LAV376. And this one is LAV477, Fairy Fir Tree 2. Now, all of these are available in the Lavinia World store.com. So it's laviniaworld.com. So if you want to check those out, and you could make this with me. So the other thing I'm using from the store is VersaFine Clair Nocturne and VersaFine Clair Morning Mist. What I like to do when I first get started is I like to use the acetate or the acrylic that comes with each one of these stamps. I'm sure you've heard people say this is a really good way to set up what you're planning to do. So that's exactly what I did, is I laid these out on my inked background to decide how I want to do this. One of the things you need to remember is some of these have a right and wrong way. So the best way to know which way to put this down is to make sure that when you go to stamp it, that's the direction it needs to go. So this one needs to go this direction. And I'm also going to be using the sentiment. So you can get an idea how you want to set things up. It can always change, just be flexible with what you're going to be doing. So that's the layout and what I'm planning to do. So the first thing then that I would want to stamp is what is going to be in the background and then layer up. And so that's going to be my sentiment. I want my sentiment to be in the background. So I'm going to go ahead and remove these. I kind of know where I want that sentiment to go. And I'm just going to lay that down about in that spot on top of there. And I'm going to be using the Morning Mist ink with this one. And as you know, a lot of the stamps, whenever I stamp them, I also emboss them with Clair embossing powder, but I do not do that for the ones in the background because I want to be able to stamp on top of them, and it won't show if I emboss them. The inking doesn't really work well. So that's what that looks like. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to be using the, I'm trying to think if I want the bridge behind the tree. If the tree is a little bit bigger, so that means in terms of perspective, I think that the bridge should come first. And I think in this case, I am going to be making the bridge in the Nocturne. Well, actually, you know what? I think I'm going to try something new. I'm going to do the Morning Mist and stamp it twice to just make it a little bit darker. And if it doesn't work, I'll add the Nocturne to it. I don't know if you noticed, but when in the first video I did to make this ink background, I purposely wanted to have a valley in my, I wanted to have a valley. And that is why that kind of looks like that, and it worked out really well to fit, to make this look more like a valley of the bridge. Now, I will go ahead and emboss this with Clair embossing powder also. Let's see if this turned out dark enough for me. I'm going to go one more time with that. I can see a little bit I want to have stamped more anyway. That's the nice thing about an inking stamping platform, is that you can always stamp twice or more if you need to. Okay, let's see how that looks. Yeah, that's perfect. So, but right away I want to go ahead and emboss that. I don't want to wait too long. So I'm going to use my clear embossing powder. And I want to make sure I stay a little bit away from the sentiment because I'm sure it's still a little bit wet. So I'm going to try to shake that just below it. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and heat emboss that, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I have that heat embossed. Now I need to set up my tree again where I want the tree to be. And I don't mind that it goes over the sentiment a little bit, but I also want to consider on the bottom of the tree trunk, where that's going to be. I'll probably come back in with a little bit of ink just to make it look like it's sitting on the hill, but I think I'm going to do it there. So let's get that set up. And I'm definitely going to be using, I'm definitely going to be using the Nocturne ink for this one. You can even see after I've embossed the ferry bridge that it looks a little bit darker anyway, which is kind of cool. Also, this will allow me, if I want to add anything inside of here, because I've got that, I would say it's sealed when I stamp it or use the clear embossing powder. It kind of like, to me, seals it, so I can actually add things to it, and then if I had to, I could wipe it back if it's anything else, like even ink. But I think I'm going to make this so that it's more of a watery look. All right. Now you can make all different kinds of scenes. This just happened to be one I thought looked kind of fun together. All right, I think I'm going to stamp that one more time. And I like that that's darker and it's more in the front. I sometimes think that this magnet at the side, you'll probably hear me say that in other videos, inhibits the stamp on this side. I'm sure there's a better technique for me to do even when there's a magnet over here. It seems to raise it up higher than what I want it to be. All right, so that is stamped the way I'd like it to be. And again, I'm going to go ahead and put in clear embossing powder on top of that, and then I'm going to go ahead and heat emboss it. I'm still going to kind of like try to stay a little bit away from the sentiment, even though I'm going on top of it slightly. But for the most part, I'm going to try to keep it to the side so it doesn't get the sentiment when I go to have this shake off. There we go. Alrighty, so I'm going to go ahead and heat emboss that also. Okay, so far I've got the all of these stamped, and I went ahead and decided that I wanted to add a little fairy up above, and that is from the Fairy Foragers, and that is LAV177. And I used this bottom one right here. And I did the same thing. I did stamp her in the Nocturne, the VersaFine Clair Nocturne, and then I did the clear embossing powder. The clear embossing powder that I have been using is the Nuvo embossing powder, and it's the clear, and this is also in the Lavinia World store. Now what I decided is I wanted to add a few stars, and I decided to use LAV177 Stars Mini. And I'm also going to be using, this is in the store, it's called Bridal Embossing Tinsel, and it's from Ranger, so you should be able to find that in the store. it works really good for the stars. And I am going to be doing for the stars, I'm going to be using the Morning Mist. And instead of using the Misty to stamp, I'm just going to randomly stamp the stars using my acrylic block. And it's just going to be throughout, and then, like I said, I'm going to emboss them. I think I'll do a couple at a time and then emboss them. All right, just going to get the embossing powder on them. And then I'm going to keep stamping so you can see where I'm putting them, and then I'll go and heat emboss them. It's just going to give a little bit of a sparkle to the background. So that's just random. Okay, so go ahead and get those in heat embossed. Okay, I wanted to show you, someone had asked in another one of my videos, like what happened to the stars once I embossed them. And I want to show you, you can really see them really better when you see them in the light, but they are still there. They're just very subtle and just give a little bit of sparkle, just like it would at night. So that's what happens when you use, like, it's the Bridal Tinsel, and I also, like I said, I use the Morning Mist underneath. So it's very subtle, but you can see them. Okay, I have another one I set up for you. I'm going to go ahead and show you another way that you can stamp on the same type of design. Okay, so I decided to add some of the Fairy Hugs glitter to this, and this is a translucent glitter, the Pixie powder, and all I did was add a little bit of the Cosmic Shimmer glue because it had a fine point, and I just did a little bit of glue around the part that didn't really have the stamping to it. And then just to flatten it down a little bit, I put paper on top of it and just flattened it. And it is absolutely gorgeous if you can see how wonderful that glitter is. So that is pretty much what I'm going to be using to put on top of my next project. And I'm going to share that with you in another video. So I hope that you will subscribe and go ahead and share this also if you could. And I have, like, again, all of the supplies I used from Lavinia World store will be linked below. So I appreciate you stopping by, and I am also going to be sharing another top using another idea. So I'll do that in a different video for you to give you another idea. Thanks so much.